Hi, I'm Lauren, Editorial Director of Mom Trends and the Shopping Mama, and today I'm talking about traveling with your infant. I have a 2.5-year-old and a 4-month-old, and we recently took a trip to Florida. It was our first flight as a family of 4, and at the time my infant was 3 months, so it was a little bit scary. But it actually turned out great, and by 20 minutes into the flight, my 2.5-year-old was napping on my lap, and my 4-month-old or 3-month-old was in my arms fast asleep, so it was great. I can't pretend that every flight is gonna be that magical, and there's no secret potion, but I am gonna offer a couple tips to help make flying with babies a little bit easier. So first and foremost, I am a crazy germaphobe. So I don't know that any of these tips actually help, but in my mind, they make me feel better and they attempt to stop the spread of germs. Especially when you're traveling with a little one, like a 3-month-old, I'm super cognizant of the fact that her immune system is really young and budding and weak, so I want to try to do everything I can to try to prevent the spread of germs on a flight. I 100% always have a disinfectant spray with me and a little travel size hand sanitizer. Never leave home without it. And then I also pack disinfectant wipes for the flight. I wipe down the seat, I wipe down the window, I wipe down the tray table in front of me because grubby little infant hands like to touch things and then put their hands in their mouth. And that's just one way to stop the spread of germs. Naturally, you're on a flight, you're in a confined space, there's circulating air. You can't control that, but you can do everything you can to try to control some things. Another thing that you want to keep in mind when packing is your liquids. Check on the TSA website, but they do allow you to pack liquids for your infants. So if you're formula feeding, you can pack formula, or you can pack water for your formula. And if you're breastfeeding, you can pack bottles as well. So do a little bit of research ahead of time so that you know exactly what you can bring on board with you. One item that I always pack for a flight are swaddles. As many swaddles as I can pack into my carry-on bag I have, because I use them for everything. I use them as a breastfeeding cover on board the flight. I use them as a blanket because flights can be a little bit chilly. I use them on top of the changing board in the bathroom to cover up that space. I just try to use them as much as possible. So this swaddle is actually from a brand new company called Buttermilk Babies, and it's really great. It's like a muslin, soft, cottony material. So I took about 4 of these I would recommend on a flight because you can use them for everything. Another thing I always pack is just like 1 or 2 little board books. Even if you have like a 3-month-old or a 4-month-old and they're not really interacting with the books, they can look at the colors, it's a distraction. If they're crying, it's just something to look at. They're not gonna really be grabbing at toys or turning pages, but it's just something you can do with them, confined in your seat during takeoff and landing. Speaking of takeoff and landing, you always want to make sure you have one of the 3 Bs, which is either going to be a binky, a bottle, or a boob. When the pressure mounts, you just want to shove that binky or whatever it is you choose to use in that baby's mouth because it'll really help relieve ear pressure. And then finally, one of the other things that I always pack for flights are boogie wipes. And this is actually for me, but it's also good for young kids as well. If you get dry on flights, there's saline in them, so if you need to wipe your nose or wipe your face, they're really great and keep you a little bit moisturized. And finally, when it comes to gear on a flight, you sort of have to use your own judgment. When I flew with my little one, I decided not to bring the car seat on board because she didn't really want to stay in it anyway. So I kept her on my lap, but I did wear her during cruising altitude. So I just got a baby carrier. You can't wear it during takeoff and landing, but if you want to keep her close to you and keep her snug and napping, you can wear your baby while you're cruising up in the flight, and that way you can have free arms to read a magazine or do whatever you want. So those are my tips for flying with baby, and for more helpful tips, follow the Shopping Mama on YouTube.